So as we move on to email sequences, one of the key things here, and not to sound redundant, is that a key aspect is that all of these tend to build on top of each other. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're not trying to just throw tactics at promotion that you have to try and touch all the bases or do everything for everyone. That's not the intent here. It's to really just the intent really being just to capture all different options of what you can do, and then you figure out what might feed lend itself well to what your team is already doing, and what just really works well for your industry. So for email sequences, this probably sounds very similar to the matched and lookalike audiences. So for email sequences, this probably sounds very similar to matched and lookalike audiences. You have your database. You have your database of prospects who may just not be customers quite yet, and you also probably have a lot of those more cooler leads, maybe from a trade show or a partner promotion that you've just acquired their email addresses. How we can do this, maybe you've heard of a 3-part drip sequence or a 5-part follow-up sequence, whatever this might be. For actually promoting an event, typically we find between 3 and 5 drip sequence is the best option. Now, this does lead into number 4 here, which is the sneak peek announcements of speakers, where people always ask, okay, so what is this email drip sequence? What content do we have in there? What are we talking about? And yes, there is always that aspect of the first one could be just talking about what the event is, what you're going to be covering there, why, of course, always looking at the value, why someone will want to even watch your event or why they want to attend it. But looking at what are those emails 2 and 3 or 2 through 5, all depending how many drips you have, and that is sometimes those speaker announcements or those sneak peek announcements as far as who's going to be there, what is going to be covered, why they really want to attend. Again, always value in their eyes. So if you think of email 1 being just talking about what the event is, what you're talking about at a high level, maybe a topic, and potentially basically date and time. So when it's going to be, the logistics of it. Email 2 and 3 could be about keynotes. It could be about who's going to be actually headlining there. If you're having other partners actually speaking there as well, leveraging any of that name recognition, that credibility for emails 2 and 3. 4 and 5 can be a little bit different. You always want to tread that fine line of not being overly basically overbearing with anyone and just sending out an email for the heck of it. However, if you have templates and you're able to repurpose potentially content from that first initial email as far as talking about what the value is, why they'd want to attend, for emails 4 and 5, maybe there's a new speaker. And if there is, fantastic. That's your content for emails 4 and 5. If there's not, though, having that same template, having maybe value as far as what they will get at the end of it, what the goal is. We've done a couple for clinical trials recently, as far as continuing clinical trials and maintaining trial validity throughout this COVID aspect and this COVID crisis, and switching things over from in-person trials to more of a hybrid trial or strictly remote trial. Again, very specific example. However, what is that value? Why do they want to attend? Packaging in a little bit different way. 3 to 5 drip sequence is the most effective that we've seen. And then always, if you have partners, if you have new speakers, continuing this. You don't want to do all 3 to 5 drips in 1 week, especially that 1 week right before the event. Spread them out a little bit, based on what you're already doing to your database. If you're doing 1 quarterly newsletter, which we probably wouldn't necessarily only advise a quarterly newsletter, but if you're only doing 1 quarterly right now, you're not going to do 5 emails 2 weeks prior to your event. That's going to be overwhelming to the database. It's going to be different. It's not what they're expecting. However, if you're already doing a weekly email, is mixing in there, 1 of these or 2 of these every 2 weeks definitely wouldn't be the end of the world. So that was kind of the sneak peek announcements as well. You have your templates. These cannot just be for emails. They can also be for social posts, organic along with paid. So organic social posts, anyone who's already liking your page or a follower of your page, especially on LinkedIn, if they're able to engage, like, comment, share your posts, fantastic. It just increases your reach all that much more. But again, these kind of can be repurposed for that email sequence as well. LinkedIn advertising, we touched on this for the matched audiences. However, instead of just matched audiences, you can target based on job titles and specific users who might want to attend your event. Geography, typically when we're doing an online event, is not that the most utilized targeting criteria. However, potentially for a trade show, it would be. When we're looking at an online event for LinkedIn advertising, you're really looking at job titles, as we had said, companies, so potentially for account-based marketing. If you have prospects that you're already looking at trying to target, or specific industries, absolutely looking at all of those different company sizes, figuring out what that is, and leveraging LinkedIn advertising. That can be in a sponsored post, that can be in an in-mail promotion, that can be simply in a text ad. So many different options. If you have video, you can definitely utilize that as well, and that would be part of a sponsored post. But just figuring out what that is, you figure out your target audience once, and then you can continue to run multiple advertisements to them. Typically, we've seen in somewhat of a drip sequence. So think of the email where you have different advertisements showing up to them prior to the event. LinkedIn advertising can be very similar, where you have different advertisements, different speaker announcements showing up to them prior to the event.